Hey, it's Soul with some more Shadowlands coverage. We're continuing our dive into Shadowlands professions to ask the all-important question: is this profession gonna make me money? Today we cover jewel crafting, but let me preface this with a disclaimer. I think that jewel crafting is the most behind in development compared to other professions, so expect a lot of holes and expect to be kind of disappointed by what you see. My hopes are that things are going to be better. First off, let's start with ore. Gathering ore, like herbs, is going to start out as a very slow affair in Shadowlands, at least so far. Now you're familiar with prospecting. You need 5 ore for a single cast, and 20 for a mass prospect. As a miner, when first gathering ore in Shadowlands, you first pick up nuggets, and then you need 10 of these nuggets to obtain a single piece of ore. So miners are going to be collecting lots and lots of nuggets until they reach a sufficient mining level, and then they start to obtain full pieces of ore. But back to jewel crafting. There are a total of 6 kinds of ore that you can prospect. Lacerite is considered the common ore that can be found in any of the Shadowlands zones, while Elithium is the rare ore, also found in any zone. The other ores are zone-specific. Oxvein is in Maldraxxus, Phaedrum is in Ardenweald, Sinvir in Revendreth, and Selenium in Bastion. Prospecting will get you one of 3 gems: Anger's Eye, Aurablaze, and Umbral. Mining nodes are few and far between in the alpha because, alpha, so I wasn't able to get data on if a certain ore is more likely to give one colored gem over the other, and even then these values would likely change between now and launch. Now let's go over what jewel crafters can make, starting with gem cuts. They can make 2 ranks of secondary stat gems, and on the alpha at the moment, the material costs are really high, which is why it's going to be important later to get more data on prospecting. Uncommon gem cuts require 2 base gems, up from 1 normally, and 2 of these lacerite settings, which you can at least buy from a vendor. The better cuts, though, require 4 gems to craft, as well as an Elithium setting, a reagent crafted by a blacksmith and made from 1 Elithium ore, the rare ore in Shadowlands. I should also add that these Elithium settings are used by armor crafters to add gem sockets to gear, but that's more their concern than yours. Just know that the competition for Elithium ore is now shared by all of the armor crafters. Thanks to those higher material costs, the cost of making high-end gems will vary a lot from server to server, I imagine. There are a couple more gem cuts. The Revitalizing Jewel Doublet grants a small periodic heal for every gem that you have equipped, and the Straddling Jewel Doublet will increase your speed by 2 for every gem equipped. So what can this mean? We don't yet reliably know if gem sockets will proc off gear drops in Shadowlands, meaning that for crafted gear, there are at most 5 gem slots available on the rings, the neck, followed by crafted chests and legs made with these Elithium settings. These perk kind of gems should be a bit useful when leveling, if nothing else. So far, there doesn't seem to be special perk gems that are only for jewel crafters, much like how almost every crafting profession doesn't have a Shadowlands perk. Now let's move on to rings and neck pieces that jewel crafters can make. Skipping straight to the high level pieces, the resource demands are once again pretty demanding. That's a good bit of material farming to make what's the equivalent of normal dungeon gear. Also notice that the recipe has no modifiers or perks that you can attach to them, at least for now. However, each recipe represents a secondary stat and a socket. Rings are, unfortunately, unique equipped, so you'll want to choose 1 ring for your second most favorite stat. Finally, there are legendary ring and amulet bases that jewel crafters can craft using Shadowghast ingots, which are created by blacksmiths, and the essences of servitude and valor, which I haven't yet found a source. A recent alpha build has restricted some of the freedom in affixing legendary powers to legendary gear, meaning players have to take a look at their class and spec to find out what base legendary pieces they need. On the plus side, this guarantees that all armor crafting professions, including jewel crafting, are going to get a piece of that gold pie. Alright friends, so is JC going to make you money? So far, I don't know actually. Like I said at the beginning, I think jewel crafting is incomplete. It still needs a lot of work until I can give a confident yes. There are more than a few data points that aren't complete, including the availability of ore nodes and the yield of gems when prospecting. At present though, making jewel crafting items is really work intensive, and the items themselves don't seem complete. Unlike the other armor crafting professions, rings and necks have neither perks nor item level boosts to add. That makes jewel crafting goods outside of gems and legendaries pretty unattractive. There is an argument to be made that because of how prevalent secondary stats are for most specializations, making jewel crafting too powerful would risk making other sources of rings and necks feel weak compared to stacking stats with crafted gear. But in Shadowlands, almost all crafted gear can have customized stats, so what's the big deal? There's one more data point that we haven't considered yet, and that's the current status of item level scaling in Shadowlands. At present, armor crafting professions like jewel crafting can create item level 165 pieces before any optional reagents are considered. For context, in the alpha, item level 170 is considered normal dungeon gear, while we can see that 185 is heroic and 200 is considered mythic dungeon item level, which historically is the same item level as raid finder gear, and then we go up from there. So overall, crafted gear will only take us so far, although farther than most if you make the most out of customizing these secondary stats. So I ask, why not add some more perks to crafted jewel crafting pieces too? Now, this might change as soon as the next alpha build goes live, but I wanted to bring up this concern because, well, you probably would in the comments. As with most of the other professions, I of course want to see more fun stuff. Toys, mounts, and pet recipes are always appreciated, so if not in the 9.0 patch, I'm going to expect to see more as the expansion rolls along. The bottom line is that everything that jewel crafters make in Shadowlands will sell. It's just a matter of how much profit you make and how much of a pain it's going to be to even make these items. Resources are going to be extremely competitive, and from the looks of it, jewel crafting will once again consume an abnormally high amount of these resources. This may result in extremely high prices for crafted gear, but considering that all armor crafting professions will let you focus on stats, it lessens the impact jewel crafting used to have. So that's going to be it for my thoughts and feedback so far, kind of short and sweet, maybe not very encouraging though, but I invite you to share your thoughts in a comment below, and to consider supporting the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more coverage, or being a valued patron. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.